שיעבירו את זה עכשיו לטיפול, אז לראות מה קורה עם זה. איך קוראים לזה? מי עוד היה לנו? ובנמי זה צריך קודם להוציא נסח. זה קודם צריך להוציא נסח. דקה אחת. טוב, את יודעת מה, האמת היא צריך גם לתאם עם אגד. תראי מה יוצא עדיף, אם זה יוצא על היום עדיף, אם לא מחר לפי שיקול דעתך. תראי, פיליפסון ברניר זה הכי דחוף, זה צריך להיות עד מחר ברור. מעבר לזה
very early July, and it has nice yellow flowers that have very nice fragrance, and they also get or die. So nowadays Warsaw is not a big European metropolis. There's only about 1,800,000 people living. Before the war it was about 1,200,000, of which 350,000 were the Jewish people, and then they were 10% of the whole Polish Jewish population, which was at that time, on the eve of the Second World War, 3.5 million. Time in the 50s, this memorial on your right is a memorial to the Russian soldiers that fell during the offensive here in Warsaw. And I see the diplomatic cars here. There must be some kind of a celebration in honor of the people who died. So to finish the historical briefing, I just started with Warsaw Technical University faculties, with the main building, which we unfortunately cannot see from here, the old building. This building on the right, the blue one, is a renovated building to have some individual, you can see individual design in them. In a moment, ladies and gentlemen, we shall come to the square, which is called Constitution Square. Here the entrance is to the underground. You see MMM, Solon Avenue. You see Forum is that brown hotel over there, brown building. There is Forum and there is Aleje Jerozolimskie. This is the Constitution Square, and the street is called Marszałkowska. These are the two largest streets in Warsaw, Marszałkowska and Aleje Jerozolimskie. Now, please, cantors are private. There's no governmental cantors at all. Even at the banks are private.
Okay.
Are the most expensive ones. Always ask the public relation in the hotel to call the radio taxi for you. But there is a tax system, very historical buildings, mostly from the early 20th and late 19th century. For example, this building on the left is a little palace which contains the Swiss embassy. The palaces were rebuilt with the state money after the war, and it's very complicated. It's very complicated. The same refers to the Jewish properties, of course, also. So Swiss embassy on the left, little palace, and American embassy, this uninteresting building from the 60s. This is a little cluster of pre-war Warsaw, except this building on the right here, which is after the war. And the hotel, I will leave you in the hands of the girls who are waiting there to receive you. Host the
לא צריך לגעת בזה, הם מורידים את זה.
זה החדר. פחות או יותר לפי הרמה שלנו. מיד. פה קצת רעיונות לאמא איך לעשות את האמבטיה החדשה. יש לנו חלוקים שלא נצטנן.
לא, הכנס זה, אבל יש כאן יום מחר.
סביבת המלון.
יצא יפה. יורדת? תעלה. יש לי דווקא... יצאתי בבוקר, עוד הספקתי מהקופסאות הממוינות. ידעתי איפה זה. עכשיו עשינו שיגעון, בנינו את הדירה השכנה, הגדלנו את ה...
זה לא נגדל, נגדל יותר איזה חנויות?
עוד, הם יותר זולים מאירופה. בבייג'ינג מצאנו חנויות עם כל המותגים האירופיים. העולם נהיה קטן, תראה.
איזה עיר תוססת.
זה הבניין בסוף, שהתחננו בפניו, שישאר וזה, והוא לא רצה. אמר, יש לו מפעל, ויש לו... מיזוג אוויר מצוין, סגרנו.
עכשיו זה הפינה של מה שוקי.
זה החיבור של
שמאלה וימינה זה הבניין המפואר.
כן, אני זוכר, ואחרי זה מלון הולידאי, נכון?
לא, מה שהיה פעם לא, המקביל זה הולידאי.
איפה הבניין המכוער?
הוא לא כל כך מכוער.
הנה, זה המתנה של סטלין. אתה מדבר מלפני 10 שנים? אתה מדבר...
מעבר השני שכניסה זה הפראגה
שם עוברים אזור.
כן, היינו משפט.
Study university study and 3 years training.
A real disaster. Never mind.
Just in case some people don't have. You only need one.
We send them.
Potomkowie, wasi przodkowie, bo nigdy żaden kraj jak Polska nie był tak bliski diasporze żydowskiej. Poza Stanami Zjednoczonymi, Związkiem Sowieckim dawnym, Polska była tym trzecim krajem na świecie, w którym najwięcej było obywateli narodowości żydowskiej. I Polska była tym krajem, w którym tradycja życia... Dziękuję bardzo. Zgodnie z programem, który został nam przedstawiony, jako pierwsza zabierze głos, to został uzgodniony, pani minister Jolanta Szymanek-Deresz, szefowa Kancelarii Prezydenta RP. Proszę uprzejmie, można tak podobno działa.
Parlamentu nie używali tego słuchawki. A ja osobiście bardzo dobrze znam i znałem. Ja wiem, że z dwóch jednak nie rozumiało polski język. Ale tam było napisane w ich biografii, że oni urodzone na polskiej ziemi, to oni nie używali tej słuchawki. To wtedy...
Witam Państwa także bardzo serdecznie w imieniu Międzynarodowego Stowarzyszenia Sędziów i Prokuratorów Europejskiego. Na takiej tabliczce leżącej w kancelarii adwokackiej mego ojca, ojciec był adwokatem, to było Lestanisłebowie. I to zdanie, ponieważ to było pierwsze zdanie, podkreślam, które samodzielnie przeczytałam, a potem poprosiłam o interpretację ojca, oczywiście w innych słowach, brzmiało tak. Drogiemu koledze, za obronę godności stanu adwokackiego, adwokat Ornstein-Orski. Kiedy byłam starsza, ojciec mi wytłumaczył, co to wszystko znaczy. Pan mecenas Ornstein-Orski był znanym adwokatem w Stanisławowie i we Lwowie, przy czym był znany z nieopanowania swojego języka w wystąpieniach przed sądem. Adwokaci chodzili tych jego wystąpień słuchać. Ja mam ograniczony czas, ale ja mogę dać Państwu fragment jednego z jego wystąpień, który także słyszałam od ojca. Jak Państwo wiecie, Adam Mickiewicz napisał taki wierszyk, jak to zbójcy, prawda, złapali ojca i dzieci modliły się do tych 12 zbójców, żeby darowali życie tatusiowi. I pan mecenas Ornstein-Orski bronił w sprawie o zabójstwo, wtedy była jeszcze u nas ława przysięgłych i on mniej więcej powiedział tak. Wysoki sądzie, ja się do was zwracam, jak te dziadki do tych 12 zbójców. Was też jest 12. Darujcie życie mojemu klientowi. Niech se sosiądzie w kuczki. Czy z tego powodu, proszę Państwa, czy z innego powodu, w każdym razie panu mecenasowi wytoczono postępowanie dyscyplinarne. I pan mecenas zwrócił się do mego ojca, żeby go w tym postępowaniu bronił. Nie zwrócił się do żadnego swojego kolegi pochodzenia żydowskiego, tylko zwrócił się do mego ojca, który pochodzenia żydowskiego nie był. I ojciec go obronił. I proszę Państwa, ja nie wiedziałam, którzy byli prawnikami pochodzenia żydowskiego, a którzy byli prawnikami pochodzenia tylko i wyłącznie polskiego. Ale ja myślę, że to bardzo dobrze świadczy i o naszych profesorach na uniwersytecie, i o całej atmosferze. Mówiło się po prostu o wielkich prawnikach. Oczywiście Państwo przyjechaliście tutaj, ażeby wspomnieć.
Mr. Czesław Jaworski, Ambassador of Israel, Mr. Shevach Weiss, Minister Janusz Niedziela, and the lady whose name I cannot pronounce, the representative of the President of Poland, Szymanek. Thank you. I wish to thank the Polish National Council of Legal Advisors and that have hosted the reception.
For giving me the privilege of presiding the first session of the conference. I understand it's a gesture towards the only Jewish research institute still existing in this country, the Jewish Historical Institute, a caretaker of this session.
My age, you will not always remember what happened yesterday or a week ago. But you can have a very vivid recollection of what happened 77 years ago. In 1924, when the Steiger trial started. And I was 11 years old. I lived in a little town, Laraus.
Left Poland after the First World War for reason on which we had this morning a short analysis.
Quite far-reaching, the matters you see, not just the Zionists but also the children. Simultaneously, a purge began, and the purge began with the top-ranking Jewish communists. The top person was Roman Zambrowski, member of the Communist Party since the 1920s, former member of the Politburo, former deputy prime minister, former minister, former member of the National Council, ex-everything in Communist Poland. At that time, he was on a side track, to say, but nevertheless he remained a symbol of the so-called Puławy faction, which had been powerful still in 1956. So Zambrowski, in 1968, he was just the deputy president of the National Chamber of Control, a supervisory body. And just 3 days after the beginning of the campaign, the party cell, local party cell in his institution, gathered and in one meeting expelled him from the party. So that was democracy. Regular party members could expel someone who had kept all major positions in the country.
Dear colleagues and friends, for the last sessions we had detailed reports of what happened in the past, for 8 years of the past century, in relationship between this country, those Jews.
Warsaw Bar Association, Andrzej Tomaszewski, and the members of the Presidium of Warsaw Bar Association and Polish Bar Association.
Cieszę się bardzo, że wśród nas możemy gościć panią prezydent, pana ambasadora, którego serdecznie też witam. Cieszę się, że zechcą odwiedzić naszą siedzibę.
It is a great pleasure that we may host here President of the association here and Mr. Ambassador.
Proponuję, proszę państwa, żeby ten dzisiejszy wieczór był innym wieczorem od wieczora dnia wczorajszego.
And may I propose that this evening would be a bit different than the evening that we had yesterday.
Wczoraj mieliśmy możliwość wysłuchania wspaniałych wystąpień pani prezydent, posłania prezydenta Rzeczpospolitej pana Kwaśniewskiego, wspaniałego przemówienia pana ambasadora.
Yesterday we had an opportunity.
Friendly message from the director of the Bar Paris, Francis Tejen, and he apologized to not to be here, but he sent me, and I appreciate because your reception are very friendly and.
היום אנחנו יוצאים עושים לסיור בגטו.
אתמול בלילה שהוא הולך לישון אצל חבר וצריך לקחת אותו ב-10 היום בחזרה. איפה גלית?
זה בניין שהיה של המפלגה הקומוניסטית לפני הנפילה, והיום זה בניין הבורסה.
אוקיי, ביי. לא, הוא אלינו. שתיים אלינו. זה שאלה טוב להציג.
Copernicus. Then, at some time by Paderewski, the famous pianist, who also used to be for 1 year the Polish Prime Minister. Next, this is presidential palace. This is where lives our president, to the right. In front of it, monument of the Duke Poniatowski, Józef Poniatowski, who was also Marshal de France, one of Napoleon's marshals. To the right, Adam Mickiewicz, the greatest Polish poet, the Romantic poet. In front of us, King Zig. The general uprising. It was unveiled in 88. To the left, one of the best samples of Polish Baroque. Maybe the Polish Baroque is lower than the Czech or the Austrian one, and a little bit wider. This is a very...
זה בית המשפט העליון של בורלי.
And the tracks are full with names of the different gulags. Then we'll go to the Umschlagplatz, which means the transfer place, the transfer square, the transit square, where people were loaded into the freight cars for Treblinka, and then we'll go to the Jewish cemetery. In our history, because over there, opposite to it, was the last building of the Judenrat, or the Jewish Council. One block from here, half a block from here, started the first battle with the Germans in January 1943, as well as in April 1943. 40, 60, 45, and 46, he already had in his brain the idea of this monument. Now, please, if I may ask you, do you and me a favor. Be as closer as it's possible to me, and then little bit hurry up. If we are... But this will be afterwards, yeah? I know. Well, dear friends, in a while you see pictures, because there is a boutique and a stand where you can see pictures how Warsaw looked in 45, in 46. Warsaw was liberated in 17th January 45, and 1 year later was unveiled this first monument dedicated to the Warsaw Jews and the uprising. As you see, 1946, April the 19th, it was the 3rd anniversary of the uprising. For a long time suffered in the general uprising, who lost, it is estimated, over 120,000 people in the general uprising. Well, we're talking about...
בלינקה זה משהו אחר, זה מישהו אחר. זה אוקיי. יש לך צלמניה גם. פה זה בור ביוב שממנו היו יוצאים מהגטו. זו האנדרטה שחוללה בצלב קרס.
אתם רוצים?
קשה לראות בגלל השמש. היד של הפסטיבל הייתה נכונה. היא סגורה מן
clandestine movement in the ghetto, Józef Lewartowski. And he was caught by the Germans in the time of the first deportation in July 42, while the others survived longer time. So he was caught in the first deportation. Dedicated to Shmuel Zickelboy. Everybody knows who he was?
No.
Yes. He was one of the leaders of Bund Party, the Yiddish Socialist Party in Warsaw. He then, in order to prevent his imprisoning by the Germans in 1939, he was ordered to go to the West. He was smuggled via different countries. Well, no time now to speak how it happened. He went to the West, from France and Belgium to the United States, and then back to London. And he was appointed as one of the two Jewish deputies, Havrei HaKnesset, well, to the parliament in exile in London. He was the one on behalf of Bund. Second was Yצחק Schwarzberg, or Ignacy Schwarzberg, on behalf of the Zionists. And
the Prime Minister של government in exile, the church.
היצא שהוא לא.
Aryeh Wilner, he was the liaison officer between the Jewish underground and the upper.
איבד עצמו לדעת.
זה נהרג כאן.
So that the last part, the last phase, this was where we were now. It was in matter of fact here. To have idea what was here. 500,000 people, they know what it meant. I spoke to somebody who was with me in the Ghetto of Lodge. So it was here as it was in the Ghetto of Lodge, 7 people in one room. Due to epidemics and starvation between November 1940 till the first deportation, which is the main deportation, which was in July 42, passed away 105,000 people. Then, in the time of the first deportation, between July 23rd and September 16, 17, were deported to Treblinka 275,000 people. They were deported not far from here. We'll go there to the, as I told you, to the Umschlagplatz. Umschlagplatz, transit square, transit place, transfer place. Then, afterwards, were left about 70,000, circa 70,000 people. And then in January was a new attempt. We know now that it was an attempt to liquidate. And they were sure that it was the time to liquidate the ghetto. When there was the first struggle in the ghetto in January 43. But still, 6,000 people were also deported to Treblinka. And the rest, well, was liquidated, was sent out, mainly to Majdanek, in the last phase to Majdanek, not to Treblinka. In the fighters were, we know that there were 500 people, more or less, in the Jewish fighting organization, so-called JOB, Żydowska Organizacja Bojowa, and 250, it is estimated, in the revisionist, the Beitar organization, Żydowski Związek Wojskowy, commanded under Apfelbaum and Frenkel. And this is something upsetting, but they didn't work together.
We know.
They fought separately. By the way, the Beitar, not longer than 3-4 days, they were at Buranovska Street, they were gathered. The Jewish fighting organization was divided into 4 great units. One of them was more or less where you see the skyscraper a little bit to the right. This was so-called the brush makers shop, factory, plant, as you want to call it. It was called here shop. In my ghetto, in Łódź, it was called resort. This was called shop. And the headquarters was here at Mila 18. Now, what was here before? This was a house bombed in September 39, at the time of when the Germans wanted to seize, when they wanted to seize Warsaw, and Warsaw was surrounded, and it was bombed. So from outside, it looked like a ruin, a total ruin, but there were very strong cellars in here. So in this case, well, the Jewish fighting organization prepared itself between, I would say, between November 42 to the uprising, to self-defense. They knew that they are unskilled, untrained. Imagine that they were together 500 plus 250 people vis-a-vis 2,152 soldiers, Germans, and officers. Can you imagine? Trained, well trained, with experience, military experience.
Armed.
So, okay, and armed, of course, you're right. There's no weapon. The main weapon was Molotov cocktails. So they had to invent a way, and this was, I would say, maybe the first example of urban guerrilla. So, how did they prepare themselves? It was, now you cannot imagine, it was a very slum area, house by house, house to house. So they tried to make corridors, trespasses between one house to another. They tried to attack the Germans and then to hide. And this was a successful method, technique, in the first way, in the first 3 days. And then the Germans adopted, well, something to counter it. What it was? Set fire. So this is fire. So and after seizing a house, they blew it, used to blow it up. So this is why you have here nothing but ruins. What happened here? You know it from very many books, so you know that it was, to be frank, it was a bunker prepared by the Jewish underworld, by the leaders of Jewish underworld. There was an underworld, there were smugglers. The gap in the Warsaw ghetto between the rich and the poor was much larger than some other ghettos. It is another topic why it was so. Also because it was much more open. The Lodz ghetto was hermetically sealed. There was no possibility of exchange with the outside world. Here it was still a possibility. Imagine that here, even in time of the uprising, there were some telephones operating to the outside world. You can find it in the book Sheva Shadim Hahen, written by Yצחק, and if you, those who haven't read it, please, I would like to recommend you read this book. With some subjective opinions, but a very fascinating and very important book. Okay, so but this is another topic. So it was prepared by the underground, by the leaders of the underground and their mistresses and their girls. But it is also to be said that when the uprising started, they offered this well-prepared, equipped bunker to the commander of the uprising, and they fought very courageously together with the fighters. This also be said. And something to the last word. No. So, okay. So there were 5 exits from this house, from this bunker, but they knew only about 4. And when the Germans came here May the 8th, they pushed poison gas into the 4 exits. And they tried to defend themselves, and as you know, they committed suicide. Some of them, 9 people, found the 5th exit, is non-known, and they escaped, but finally most of them, 2 of them were poisoned and died in 2 days. Some of them went to the guerrilla detachments units in Vyszków, in some other places, and then they were killed. So nobody of those who were in the bunker survived. After the war, there was, I'm fine. After the war, there was a debate what to put here, if you now can come and see. Whether there should be an obelisk, a monument, and I think the solution was a proper solution. What they did is so heroic, they don't need a larger monument, it's just a stone. A stone which is a Jewish tradition, a piece of rock with the inscription, who died here. So, my dear friends, you stay on the real grave of Mordechai and his people, and his comrades. So?
אני רוצה להוסיף סיפור קצר.
אני מבין.
אני יודע שאתה מבין, למדת בתרבות. שבמרד הגטו נפל בחור בן 17 שנולד בנווה שאנן, תל אביב, חזר עם אביו לכאן, שמו היה שאנן לנט, היה בין הלוחמים במברשתנים, שוקי, ונפל בקרב. באותו קרב מפורסם של דיכוי מרד ורשה. זה לא סיפור כל כך ידוע, אבל כדאי להזכיר אותו. אביו היה איש קואליציון שמאל. היה נהג טרמווי. שני
עוד באנגלית?
שניים.
וכאן זה המצבה על שם מרדכי אלמילביץ', ממש ליד מילה 18. אין בצד.
Before the war is school, in the time of the war, hospital, the Jewish hospital, and the guarding place for those who were to be deported to Berlin.
שני הבתים האחרונים שנשארו מימין, בית חולים.
Behind this fence, yellow fence, here was the old flat. Yes. Yes, he was part of the old flat. And the monument would be over there. Now, to the left was the house which was the headquarters of the SS people as Ukrainians who supervised the deportation. So this is why those two houses were preserved. Nothing else. Now, please, go straight, further street, we will meet at the corner where the Unschlag monument is. And I will repeat to those who didn't listen the story of this story.
זה המקום שמהם הועלו על הרכבות, בשביל המשלוח.
צריכה לצלם את הכתוב. Tell me when I have to start. Now, if I may, can you listen? So, this was before the as well as in the courtyard behind the school. Now, when we started to think about this monument, we wanted to have it as we'd like to have it a wall with all the stones First of all, the other 400,000 names. Second, we didn't know. So what we decided, there was a committee, that this should be like a monument to the unknown Jew who was deported, but who was known by his name. So we took from the Ringelboom archives. You know what is the Ringelboom archive? It is a clandestine archive which was gathered day by day by Emmanuel Ringelboom, the same as Belgium is committed, in the Warsaw Ghetto, there were files, documents, minutes, memoirs, orders, official, unofficial, underground, and official. So this is one of the greatest heritage of our nation. This is third. I'm privileged to be the chairman of this institute, that's our Jewish Historical Institute. Copies of that are in the percent copies. And we took 25,000 files from the Ringel archives, put them into the computer, and this is out of them. As you see, Jewish names, which are minor Yiddish, Maximilian, Polish, well, let's say, Sima, Yiddish, Simcha, Ivrit, Zygmunt, Polish, Жанна, French, like Jewish names.
It was just chosen by chance.
No, the outcome of 25,000 files put into the computer.
Yeah.
Those are the names from A to Z. The outcome of 25,000 files.
How many names?
Here are about 500. And information which you can read in Hebrew and in English. And what is important to understand, now part of this monument is also what you can see. The quotation from Job. Now why is it so important? The people which gathered inside were Ukrainian guards. And if you drive window, this gate door, and this whole window, a slice of bread, maybe a bottle of water, a sweater, because in the beginning people believe that maybe they go to work, to work in the east as they go to store. So this was the place where it was the last framework with the cloak, with your so you a talit, like a talit which embraced all those people who were gathered. Then part of the monument, behind this monument was planted a green tree. That it should, yes, I'm sorry.
האוטובוס יבוא הנה, הוא אומר.
צריך לחכות כאן.
לא, ביקש לעבור.
יוצאים. nous a dit. Hein? Je t'ai cherché. הוא לא מתחיל עד
Because here were the first grand rabbis of Warsaw buried, and they have to do their own. We will go. And then, after we'll go back, and I will take the stronger one. Speed up. Okay, those who will get lost here, in and out. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
As you know, it is not according to halacha that you can have a place, you can have at a Jewish cemetery. But there were sometimes the rabbis accepted it. Sometimes. Well,
חיכיתי קצת לך לראות אם תגיע.
So here you can see one of the contributions were destroyed totally, this not. Well, by the way, this was vandalized by some vandals.
Just recently?
There was in Spain was a family Abarbanel.
Yeah. Yes.
So when after the expulsion from Spain, part of the family fled to Africa and part via France also to the east. We have two tombstones of the Abarbanel family. They shortened it to Barbanel. Here is one, another Barbanel is over there. Those who come from Poland are familiar with the name Antoni Słonimski. Very uncommon for a body, a Jewish body, to be 6 days without eating. So I'm finding this is the